The library room at Willow Ridge Academy was soaked in afternoon sunlight, filtered through tall windows that lined the east wall. Shelves of polished wood towered above, filled with classics arranged more for aesthetic than utility. In one corner, a long reading table sat quietly, but at the far end, a pair of voices broke the silence. "Try that word again, Liam," said Mr. Carter, his voice warm but steady. The boy frowned at the page, small finger underlining each syllable. "See con fi. Dence?" Mr. Carter smiled. "Perfect." Liam, 8 years old, with a cowlick that never stayed down and glasses too big for his face, lit up. "I got it?" "You did." It wasn't just a word. For Liam, it was a victory. Because up until 3 months ago, Liam couldn't read a single sentence without stammering or shutting down. His world had been filled with frustration, silence, and avoidance. But since Mr. Carter had taken over as his reading specialist, things had changed, slowly, quietly, but undeniably. Liam now asked questions. He carried books in his backpack. He started reading aloud at home. But not everyone noticed the progress. Or cared. That same afternoon, Mrs. Whitmore, Liam's mother, sat in the school's front office, her posture stiff, voice clipped. "I want a different tutor," she said to the head of lower school, folding her designer coat across her lap. "May I ask why?" the administrator replied cautiously. Mrs. Whitmore crossed her legs and adjusted her pearl earrings. "I don't think Mr. Carter is the right fit. He's too casual. Too unorthodox. I expected someone with more polish." She didn't say what she really meant. But it hung in the air like perfume. Too different. Too unfamiliar. Too black. She didn't see the sessions. She didn't see Liam's face when he read Confidence. She only saw Carter's skin and a resume that didn't come from the Ivy Leagues. And she'd already drafted an email to the board. The next morning, the email arrived in inboxes before the bell rang. Subject line: concern regarding Mr. Carter's professionalism, urgent review requested. Signed, neatly and firmly, by Amelia Whitmore. It was a 2-page message written in precise, elegant language, the kind of language that doesn't accuse, but implies. That doesn't say incompetent, but uses phrases like not aligned with our values. That never names race, but speaks of fit, appearance, and school image. She cited no concrete failures. No missed sessions. No parent complaints, just her personal discomfort and concerns about long-term impact. She copied the head of school, the board chair, and the lower division director. And in a final sentence that landed like a dagger: "My husband and I contribute significantly to Willow Ridge's annual fund. We expect our concerns to be taken seriously." At the same time, in the cozy back room of the library, Mr. Carter was reviewing Liam's latest reading log. Each entry, scrawled in crayon, showed books Liam had chosen himself. One was even above grade level. Mr. Carter smiled. He didn't know about the email yet. Didn't know that his job, his presence, was suddenly under scrutiny. But he'd felt the glances before. The quiet pauses in conversations when he entered a room. The parents who always seemed to hover too close when he spoke to their kids. Still, he had one job: help kids read. That was his focus. Not politics. Not whispers. Liam was reading, and that mattered more than any hallway side eye. In the admin offices, the school leaders were already holding an emergency meeting. There were forms on the table, folders labeled staff contracts and parent relations. One board member frowned. "We've had nothing but progress reports from Carter's students." "Yes," the director said. "But she's not just any parent." Another whispered, "We need to tread carefully." And so the school, which proudly posted signs that read "We celebrate diversity," sat in a circle, wondering if one wealthy parent's discomfort was worth more than a child's breakthrough. They didn't know Liam had just finished his first book, cover to cover. That Friday afternoon, the lower school had its weekly tradition, Reading Circle. Students from various grades gathered in the sunlit multipurpose room, some sitting cross-legged on rugs, others on low wooden benches. Teachers and tutors stood behind them like sentinels, each ready to cheer on whichever child stood to read. It was supposed to be relaxed, casual. No pressure. Mr. Carter was near the back, watching quietly as a third grader stammered through a picture book. He applauded softly, encouraging every word, whether it was right or wrong. Then, a surprise. Liam's hand went up. He'd never volunteered before. Not once. There was a small pause, then a nod from the facilitator. Liam walked to the front, gripping a book so tight the cover curled beneath his fingers. It wasn't a baby book. It wasn't the safe level. It was a chapter book. And then, he opened it. And began to read. Not perfectly. He stumbled once. But he didn't stop. He kept going. The dragon wasn't scary. It was just misunderstood. The room was silent. Mr. Carter's eyes brimmed with quiet pride. This was the moment. Not a test, not a grade, just a child owning his voice in front of his peers. And in the back of the room, standing in the doorway in her tailored coat and pearls, was Amelia Whitmore, frozen. She had come to observe, unannounced. She expected to see what she called sloppy tutoring or ineffective methods. What she saw was her son, reading out loud for the first time in his life. And smiling. Not because he was being forced. But because he was proud. After the reading, the students clapped. Some cheered. Liam returned to his seat, beaming. And Mrs. Whitmore? She turned and left quietly. No clipboard. No notes. Just silence. In her mind, the words her son had read echoed louder than anything she had ever written in an email. The dragon wasn't scary. It was just misunderstood. The next morning, Amelia Whitmore sat at her kitchen table, coffee untouched, laptop open in front of her. Her inbox still held her sent message, the one calling for Mr. Carter's removal. She reread it 3 times. With each line, it felt colder. Uglier. Detached from what she had witnessed the day before. Liam had read. Not haltingly, not from memory, but with confidence and joy. She hadn't helped him get there. Mr. Carter had. The realization stung. Upstairs, Liam was curled up in bed with the same book he'd read in circle time, whispering the words to himself like secrets he was finally allowed to keep. "Mom?" he called out. Amelia startled. "Yes?" "Mr. Carter said I could bring a book home today. Is that okay?" She hesitated, then said, "Of course, sweetheart. That's more than okay." She closed her laptop. For once, she didn't feel like the most knowledgeable person in the room. Later that afternoon, she stood in front of her walk-in closet, staring at the row of blazers and structured dresses. She didn't reach for the usual neutrals. Instead, she pulled out a plain sweater and jeans, something unbranded, unpolished. She wasn't heading to a gala or fundraiser. She was going back to the school. No appointment. No agenda. Just a conversation. She found Mr. Carter in the library, shelving books with students. When he turned and saw her, he stiffened for a second. But she stepped forward, clearing her throat. "I owe you an apology," she said. "I judged you. Without watching. Without listening. Without seeing." Carter blinked, silent. "Thank you for teaching my son," she added softly. "Not just to read. But to believe he could." She didn't ask for forgiveness. She just left those words, and walked away, quieter than she had ever been on school grounds. 2 weeks passed. And in those 2 weeks, something began to shift at Willow Ridge Academy. First, it was Liam's progress report. His reading assessment, once marked well below grade level, now showed a leap of nearly 2 full levels. The kind of growth that would usually take a semester had happened in a few months. Then came the other students. Parents who had been skeptical of Mr. Carter's methods began to ask for extra sessions. Word spread that he didn't just improve fluency, he helped kids fall in love with books. He used stories to teach courage. He let students bring their own books, not just what the curriculum demanded. And the kids responded, because they felt seen. At the next school board meeting, tucked between budget discussions and spring fundraiser updates, the head of school brought up an unexpected item. Recognition of exceptional instructional contribution, Mr. Desmond Carter. There were a few raised brows, and a few forced smiles. But then the data was presented. Liam was just one name on a list of 10 students whose reading and writing scores had skyrocketed under Carter's guidance. The data was objective. The results were clear. Silence followed. Then, a board member cleared her throat. "Has his contract been renewed for next year?" A pause. Then, "It's being extended, and expanded." That same evening, Carter sat alone in the library, flipping through student essays. A quiet knock on the glass startled him. It was Mrs. Whitmore again. This time, she wasn't dressed like a parent coming to complain. She looked like a mother. "I know you're busy," she said. "But I wanted to tell you something." He looked up. "Liam came home yesterday and said reading makes him feel free." He used that word. Free. Her voice cracked slightly. "I don't think I've ever given him that. But you did." She left before he could respond, but this time, she left the door open behind her. Spring came quickly to Willow Ridge Academy. With it, the annual Young Voices Assembly, a long-standing tradition where selected students shared essays or stories with the school community, parents included. Usually, it was the same polished speakers, debate kids, theater students, the extroverted elite. But this year, the coordinator added a surprising name to the list: Liam Whitmore. His teacher had submitted an essay he wrote for class titled "The Word That Unlocked Me." When Mr. Carter told him he'd been chosen to read it aloud, Liam froze. "Out loud?" he asked, his fingers curling tightly. "You don't have to," Carter said gently. "Only if you want to." Liam was quiet. Then, "Mr. Carter, if I read it, will they know it's really me now?" Carter smiled. "They'll know. And they'll remember." The day of the assembly, the auditorium filled with parents and staff. The walls were draped with pastel student art. Folding chairs lined up with precision. Backstage, Liam clutched the paper tightly. Mrs. Whitmore knelt beside him, smoothing his collar. "You don't have to prove anything, sweetheart," she whispered. "I'm not proving," he said, steady now. "I'm just telling." When his name was called, the room was respectfully quiet. Liam stepped up to the mic. He adjusted the paper. His hands didn't shake. "Hi. My name is Liam. I used to think reading was like trying to run with your shoes tied together. It made me trip. I hated it. I thought maybe something was wrong with me. Then I met Mr. Carter. He didn't untie my shoes, he taught me to untie them myself." A few people chuckled. Others wiped their eyes. "Now I can read books on my own. And when I do, I feel like I'm in them. Like I can go anywhere. I'm still learning. But I'm not afraid anymore." He paused. His eyes found Mr. Carter in the front row. "And that's the word that unlocked me, possible." The room erupted in applause. Not polite. Not rehearsed. Real. Mrs. Whitmore cried openly. Mr. Carter, usually composed, looked down, overwhelmed. The board members who once debated his worth were silent. And Liam? He stood there, proud and still. He didn't just read a speech. He rewrote the story. A month after the assembly, Willow Ridge Academy's board voted on a small but meaningful initiative. The school would begin honoring one educator each spring for transformative impact in student growth. No politics. No press release. Just truth. The first recipient was Mr. Desmond Carter. He didn't know it yet. On a sunny afternoon, students and parents were invited to the unveiling of the newly redesigned reading nook in the library, a space with soft cushions, warm lighting, and shelves filled with student-selected favorites. The crowd gathered, buzzing with curiosity. Mr. Carter stood off to the side, assuming he was just there to support the kids. But then the head of school stepped to the mic. "This corner used to be just a space for books. Now it's a space for breakthroughs. Because of one man, many of our students no longer whisper when they read, they soar. And today, we dedicate this space in his honor." She pulled back a small cloth from the plaque. Blue book emoji, the Carter Reading Corner, where every voice deserves to be heard. Mr. Carter was speechless. But Liam wasn't. He stepped forward, holding a book under his arm, and whispered, "Want to be the first one to read here with me?" Carter smiled and sat down on the cushion next to him. "Only if you read the first page," he said. And Liam did. From that day on, the Carter Reading Corner became more than just a part of the library. It became a symbol, a quiet rebellion against assumptions. A place where kids who once felt small began to take up space. Mrs. Whitmore returned often, sometimes volunteering to organize shelves. She never missed a chance to say hello to Mr. Carter. And Liam? He never stopped reading.